Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Dollar remains offered analysis http ntvforex.com news ID 086927813220 12:13:56 p.m. Overview. The poor price action on Tuesday in the S&P 500 was shrugged off, and new highs for the recovery were made as the record high nears. NBSP. The dollar, on the other hand, seemed to find plenty of sellers against most of the major currencies. The yen was a notable exception. The dollar traded above 107 Japanese yen for the first time nearly 3 weeks yesterday, but could not sustain the move today. NBSP. The yen is also trading at new lows for the year against the euro. The soft yen gave Japanese shares a boost. NBSP. Most markets in the region rose except Hong Kong and Australia. The MSCI Asia Pacific Index made new 6-month highs today. NBSP. European shares are slightly lower, and US stocks are flat. NBSP. Bond yields are a little lower across the board, with the US 10-year pulling back 3 basis points to around 0.65%. NBSP. New Zealand's benchmark 10-year yield fell 9 basis points following yesterday's decision to expand its bond purchases. The dollar is on its back foot, slipping against all the major currencies but the New Zealand dollar. NBSP. The euro, which tested support in front of $1.17 yesterday, is knocking on $1.1840, highs for the week. NBSP. Among emerging market currencies, the Turkish lira remains under pressure as the government's defense has crumbled. Gold is firm, but below yesterday's $1,950 high. NBSP. Light sweet crude for September delivery is flat near $42.75. NBSP. Last week's high was around $43.50, where the 200-day moving average is found. NBSP. Asia Pacific. The New Zealand dollar proved resilient to the central bank's decisions to boost its bond purchases and threaten negative yield and buying foreign bonds if necessary. NBSP. After falling to 1-month lows near $0.6525, the Kiwi recovered to $0.6600 in the North American morning before consolidating. NBSP. It found support near $0.6560 today. NBSP. A decision will be made after the weekend about the election scheduled for September 19. NBSP. The development of the outbreak and length of the needed lockdown will be better understood. NBSP. Prime Minister Ardern and the governing Labour Party is widely expected to win the election and is ahead in recent polls 55%-28% over the National Party. NBSP. A decision to postpone the vote would have the National Party's support. NBSP. The leader suggested a new date in November or even next year would be acceptable. Ostensibly, it would give the National Party time to muster a stronger campaign. NBSP. Australia created 114.7k jobs in July, half the revised 228.4k in June 210.8k initially. The unemployment rate edged up to 7.5% from 7.4% as the participation rate jumped to 64.7% from 64.1%. NBSP. The median forecast in the Bloomberg survey called for an increase of 30k jobs, and in the actual report, the full-time positions rose by 43.5k after falling a revised 23.6k in June. NBSP. Part-time employment rose by 71.2k after a 252k revised increase previously. NBSP. The full impact of the outbreak and lockdown in Victoria will likely be seen in next month's report. NBSP. The People's Bank of China is one of the few major central banks that has not engaged in long-term asset purchases associated with quantitative easing. However, a small item in its balance sheet caught analysts' attention, and some argue this could represent bond purchases by the PBOC. More data due tomorrow may shed light on it. NBSP. A category of sovereign bond ownership that includes central banks and clearing houses rose about 18 Chinese yuan BLN to 1.78 trillion Chinese yuan $256 BLN in July. NBSP. While this could be PBOC helping to facilitate smooth auctions, we are skeptical. The amount is too small to be of policy significance. NBSP. We are more persuaded by suggestions that it is likely the result of a foreign central bank buying Chinese bonds through its currency swap arrangement with the PBOC. NBSP China's 10-year bond yields 2.94%. NBSP. The dollar is about a 35-tick range against the Japanese yen, holding below 107 Japanese yen. There are two expiring options to note. NBSP. The first is for about $890 MLN at 106 Japanese yen and 70 sen, and the other is for $850 MLN at NBSP 107 Japanese yen. NBSP initial support is seen near 106 Japanese yen and 40 sen. NBSP. The Australian dollar approached the high for the week $0.7190, but demand fizzled, leaving it flat near $0.7165. NBSP nearby support is pegged near $0.7140. NBSP. The New Zealand dollar is trading within the ranges seen yesterday, but look for a retest on the low it saw near $0.6525. NBSP. The greenback fell to new 5-month lows against the Chinese yuan 6.9310 Chinese yuan but bounced to 6.9455 Chinese yuan to snap a 3-day fall. NBSP. The PBOC set the dollar's reference rate at 6.9429 Chinese yuan, in line with expectations. NBSP Europe. The US shifted some of its $7.50 BLN tariffs on European goods for retaliation against the subsidies for Airbus that the WTO ruled were illegal. NBSP. It appears that some UK and Greek goods were removed from the list of goods and were added to Germany and France. NBSP. Jams and knives were now subject to 25% tariffs. NBSP. UK biscuits and gin were given a reprieve, though the tariff on other UK alcohol remained. NBSP. We have noted since US actions began that the other shoe has yet to drop. NBSP. That shoe is that charges that Boeing received illegal subsidies from the US are making their way through the WTO process, and a decision could be issued as early as next month. NBSP. Italy successfully sold 30-year bonds today at 1.91%, a plump yield compared with other bonds of that maturity in Europe. NBSP. Spanish and Portuguese yields for that tenor are a little below 1.1%. NBSP. Italy raised 1.25 BLN euros for bonds that mature in 2050. NBSP. The euro is trading at its best levels for the week, having bounced smartly yesterday from the week's lows near $1.1710. NBSP. If $1.17 is the lower end of the range, the $1.1900 area represents the upper end. NBSP. The buying in Europe has left the intraday momentum indicators stretched. NBSP. Initial support is seen near $1.1825, where an option for about 635 MLN euros expires today. NBSP. Note that a 1.5 BLN euro option at $1.1900 expires tomorrow. NBSP. Sterling held support near $1.30 yesterday and is pushing toward $1.31 today. NBSP. An option for £750 sterling MLN at $1.30 will roll off today. NBSP. The week's high was set around $1.3130, and that may be too far for today as the momentum stalls in late morning turnover in Europe. NBSP America. The median forecast calls for another small decline in weekly jobless claims to 1.1 MLN from almost 1.19 MLN. NBSP. It still seems unreasonable high given that the economy appears to be expanding at a 14%-20% annualized clip. NBSP. A disappointing increase would likely spur dollar sales, and an unwind of some of this week's increase in yields. The executive order on the federal unemployment insurance has not been implemented yet, and that may have discouraged new applications. Despite a solid reception to the U.S. 10-year note sale, the yield rose 3 basis points to 67.5 BP. NBSP. It was the fourth consecutive increase, but that streak is set to end today. NBSP. After the markets close today, the Fed makes its weekly report. NBSP. Recall that its balance sheet peaked 2 months ago and has fallen in 6 of the past 8 weeks for a cumulative decline of about $223 BLN. NBSP. During the same 8-week run, the ECB's balance sheet has grown by around 755 billion euros. NBSP. The euro has appreciated against the dollar for the last 7 consecutive weeks. NBSP. Mexico's central bank is widely expected to cut the overnight rate from 50 BP to 4.50%. NBSP. The rate stood at 7.25% in January. NBSP. Banxico cut rates at 5 consecutive meetings through June before standing pat in July. NBSP headline CPI has risen to about 3.6% from 2.15% in April, but real and nominal rates remain relatively high. NBSP. The peso has appreciated by a little more than 8% over the past 3 months, leaving it down roughly 15.4% for the year. NBSP. Assuming a 50 BP cut is delivered today, we suspect there is scope for another 50 BP cut in Q4. NBSP. The greenback has slipped to new 6-month lows against the Canadian dollar near 1.3220 Canadian dollars. NBSP. The low for the year was set in early January just below 1.2960 Canadian dollars. NBSP. The 1.3260 Canadian dollars area may offer the nearby cap today. NBSP. Rising equities and firm oil prices. NBSP. Note that Canada's 2-year yield near 30 BP is almost twice the US yield. NBSP. The US dollar is coiling in tight ranges against the Mexican peso. NBSP. The 22 Mexican pesos and 25 centavos 22 Mexican pesos and 55 centavos has confined the greenback this week is within a narrower 22 Mexican pesos and 30 centavos 22 Mexican pesos and 40 centavos range now. NBSP. It has been recording lower highs for the past 6 sessions. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors.